What are the best practices for collecting registrations? How should they be coded? And what does Church Biz need to know if we're doing your books?
Yeah. So the first thing is, and it says here, event registrations are not tax deductible donations to the organization, right? So make sure you have an application or a system or a process that can delineate your contributions, charitable contributions that come in, and then your registrations that you have. And so I think a really good, I like Planning Center Online. I like the fact that they have the different modules. They've got the giving module, right? You should be running all of your tax deductible donations through the giving module, right? It's a donor management system. It's like, okay, well, what about this, youth event that we want to do? Okay, they have another module called registrations. And so you can actually go set up that event in registrations, offer a online payment link. You can create batches for cash and check if you want. And it's synced with, it uses the same Stripe account that processes the donations, and it gives you all the reporting to delineate everything. So that's in my opinion, that's a good solution that I'm probably most familiar with, but I know a lot of these applications are, function the same. They have a registration process as well. But do yourself a favor. And especially if you're doing, significant events, as many churches have significant events, especially like this time of year in the summer with youth activity, invest in having an application like Planning Center to be able to keep that straight for you. One thing that I would be, if I'm on the finance committee, and I think through budget planning and I think through these events, I know some of these events can have significant cost, some of these retreats and things like that. You're spending quite a bit of money. And it would help to have your books in a shape where you can understand what was actually paid for the event and then what money came in the form of a registration that should be helping to offset those costs. I would want to make sure that the accounting is set up so that I could see what actually happens. Like I would want to see what I paid vendors, what I paid for the facility, what I paid for labor for that event. I'd like to be able to see those costs. And then I also want to see, it'd be nice to see the number of registrants and then what those registration fees were that came in. Really, because one, I can assess in the current year, okay, here's what that net cost was to the church. But two, it'd help me plan for future events to be able to have that information. So don't route them up to donations, right? Because it's a direct variable revenue line those aren't donations to your church. They're basically helping you subsidize costs for this event that you're doing, right? So get it out of your donation line. It's up to you whether you put it up, up in revenue as like registration. That's what I like to do because it is income. I'd like to see it as registration. However, you can also, I've seen organizations, if they have multiple, like let's say they have youth, marriage ministry or whatever, you can actually route those registrations as kind of like contra expense lines and roll it up under. So if I have like let's say a youth retreat where I'm going to code my expenses, or I have a youth retreat section that's got like venue expense, labor, and materials, I can put underneath that the registrations line that comes in, and it comes in as a negative figure on your P&L, and it reduces, if you add them all together and the cost together, it has a reducing effect to it. But the point is it can be exploded so that you can cleanly see here were the cost of the event, and here's the funds that came in that we had people register for. Probably what I would, that's, I don't know if that answers your question, but that's.
Yeah, I mean, you hit it right on nail on the head there. Is like the registration fees are different than charitable donations. Yeah, it's an exchange transaction. And the key thing is on a registration or event, the money you're paying, you are getting something in return for that, not a charitable donation organization. So if anyone ever just for fun actually reads their charitable donation statements, it should say at the bottom, such and such organization is a registered 501c3 in the United States. The donor did not receive an exchange of goods and services for this money that was given. That's paraphrasing. It's essentially what those things say, that yes, this is a charitable donation because you didn't get anything in exchange for it. So quick example is I've gone to mission trips a few times over to Guatemala with an organization that love and support. And last time I was there, I had a terrible foot injury, which is a story for another day. But when I go to this mission trip, I pay, it's like $1,300, and I get a statement that $500 is for my lodging and food they provide to me that week when I'm out at the camp. That's not a deductible. I'm getting something in return for that. But I get $800 helps a kid in Guatemala get to soccer camp.
Yeah.
I'm scholarshiping them. That's the deductible piece that I can put on my tax return schedule.
Right.
Is that $800? Just kind of giving one example on what we're talking about there. But
you'll see that too, like with fundraising events, right? So like we're going to sell a table for $3,000, right?
Yeah.
And so you buy a table for $3,000. You let 8 of your friends and family come with you. The organization should then delineate, okay, well, of that 3,000, 1,500 of that is going to, is a charitable contribution to our cause, the reason why we're doing this event. And then the food and entertainment was the remainder, right? And so they should specify that so that on your donor receipt, how how much you can deduct and write off, right? So, but the point is, if you're receiving a benefit for it, other than intangible religious, right? That's okay. But if you're receiving a benefit for it, that's not a tax deductible donation, right? And so your donor system should be able to account for that to help your donors so that they can comply with their taxes.
So to recap this one, it's registration fees are not charitable contributions like we're talking about. On the book side of it, you want to separate that out. Just a best practice is take your programs or your events, separate that out on a separate income line item. So this is not my internal or external charitable giving. This is for a specific event or registration. And then, as you said, Kevin, you can either show it as income and expense, or you can use it as a contra expense, and all the expenses and revenue goes in the same expense account. Just make sure you understand on the financial side how you're doing it so that you're reading properly what the impact on the organization is for these events and registrations. How are we doing on time? We need to land this plane or jump? Man, we got through 4 of the 5. The last one was on tax liability. The last question, state, county, and federal. I think we touched on a lot of that.
We did. I mean, that's
on these other topics. Good stuff, man. We hit some tough ones today. One with a little fun time before we end this Church Biz Live. I always like to talk about sports. I know your sports teams are usually pretty successful. The teams that you follow and cheer for,
they do well.
I know you're a football guy. What are you watching in April? NBA playoffs? I don't think you're really into baseball much or hockey guy.
Nothing.
It's kind of a down season for you right now.
I don't really get into anything. I should get into the NBA. I used to love the NBA playoffs. I wanted to get into the Spurs, and then I think their best player got hurt recently.
Josh would know better than me. Is it Wemby?
So I thought maybe I can get back into it. But honestly, as every year that goes by, I get less and less invested in sports, even college football, which is kind of my favorite, and then watching the Dallas Cowboys. But I keep wanting to try to get back into it, but it's just, I don't know.
What you got? I mean, I can't remember. Are you Xbox or PlayStation guy?
PlayStation.
So we got on the PlayStation right now. FIFA, you got Call of Duty. What?
Evelyn and I play Astrobot. It's like a game she can play. It's Astrobot 2. And so we play that. And then every now and then we'll play Spider-Man. She likes to go through the story aspect of it, but when it comes time to fight the bad guys, she freaks out and hands me the controller, and I've got to fight the bad guys. So
that's cool.
That's kind of the video game we've got going on.
That's fun. Yeah, we got into there's a game, it's called Fibbage and Drawful. It's like in a pack of games that you can play on your device up to your TV, where you who wrote the lie, who's got the truth. So my family's been into that. But Josh, are your Celtics still in the NBA playoffs?
Still in. Tied 1-1 in their season.
Tied 1-1 first round NBA playoffs. I'm a big baseball guy. I've been down on the Cardinals the last few years, but they're actually started the season well. They got a new president of baseball operations, so I'm giving them another chance this year to see how they do. So that's it for today. Thanks if you've been watching live or catching it later. Hope these are helpful to you. We're going to wrap up this 3rd episode of Church Biz Live. Thanks for doing this, Kev.
Thank you.
Thanks for running it, Josh. We'll see you on the next one.